Churuman. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Agdanatimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmritam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay. 6.35. Shri Bhagavan Vacha. Asamshayam Mahabhaho Manodurnigraham Chalam Vyasena Tukaunteya Vairagyena Cha Grishyate. So in the previous verse, Arjuna said that it's very difficult to control the mind. So Krishna is answering. Yes, Lord Sri Krishna said, O mighty armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment. So two things are important: suitable practice and detachment. No, suitable means what is the what is appropriate for us. One second, somebody wants the link. Yeah, so suitable means that it should be practical for the time and age, and detachment. Any process of yoga will have detachment associated. So there is nothing like somebody is engaged in yoga and is attached to material things. Not possible. Purport: the difficulty of controlling the obstinate mind as expressed by Arjuna is accepted by the personality of Godhead. But at the same time, he suggests that by practice and detachment, it is possible. What is that practice? In the present age, no one can observe the strict rules and regulations of placing oneself in a sacred place, focusing the mind of the super soul, restraining the senses and mind, observing celibacy, remaining alone, etc. So all these are required for Ashtanga Yoga. So Prabhupada is saying this is not possible for this age. By the practice of Krishna consciousness, however, one engages in the 9 types of devotional service to the Lord. The first and foremost of such devotional engagements is hearing about Krishna. This is a very powerful transcendental method for purging the mind of all misgivings. The more one hears about Krishna, the more one becomes enlightened and detached from everything that draws the mind away from Krishna. So this is very, very important. That is why Shravanam is so important. Say, like Prabhupada is saying, that it is very powerful transcendental method. So it's not a material method, number one, because it's of the one of the Navavidha Bhakti, now one of the aspects, Angas. It's a very powerful method because see, we know this, right? When we read something, our full concentration is on the subject matter that we are reading, and ideally we read to understand, to grasp. Sometimes that is why sometimes like these kind of impersonal classes, right, like where remote online class, etc., it's very difficult to gauge the interest level of the other person, because like yeah, somebody might be hearing, might be doing some work alongside, or might be distracted because of something else, and it's very difficult to this one. But if suppose you are sitting and very focusedly hearing or reading, then because the mind is focused on what you are doing, it will have the impact on the mind. And so whatever is there in the mind, which is all misgivings or contamination, which will all be purged. And now obviously it depends on what is the subject matter for hearing. So the more one hears about Krishna, the more one becomes enlightened. So we have to hear about Krishna because Krishna has to enter our heart. When we hear about Krishna, when we read about Krishna, Krishna enters our heart, which means that if we hear it or read with full attention, that means that actually we are in touch with Krishna. When we are in touch with Krishna, what happens? Automatically, Krishna will drive away all other things. So we become enlightened and detached from everything that draws the mind away from Krishna. And it is very automatic. One who reads Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam every day for hours together, there is no way he cannot become a pure devotee. Now, obviously, then people say, no, how is it possible hours together? We don't have so much time at all. Yeah, so then it's a question of priority. What time, what stage, what we want. And then we decide whether, okay, we want Krishna or we want some material progress and success and money or whatever else. And then we decide. Right? But the point is very clear. The more we hear about Krishna, the more we'll get attracted towards him, the more we'll get detached from material things, because Krishna is so attractive that material things lose their taste in front of Krishna. By detaching the mind from activities not devoted to the Lord, one can very easily learn Vairagya. So this is another thing, right? By detaching mind from activities not devoted to the Lord. If you just make a sankalpa, make a commitment saying that, okay, I'm not going to engage in anything which is not devoted to the Lord, or at least as a first stage, anything which is involves sense gratification, then automatically we will learn Vairagya. Vairagya means detachment from matter and engagement of the mind in spirit. So Prabhupada is not saying just detachment from matter. He's saying no use of detaching matter if it doesn't engage in spirit. And that automatically happens when we hear about Krishna. Mind automatically is detached from matter and gets attached to Krishna. Impersonal spiritual detachment is more difficult than attaching the mind to activities of Krishna. Because in impersonal spiritual detachment, you just say, naiti, 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 not this, not this, not this. Okay, I don't want this. I don't want to eat anything. I don't want to talk anything. I don't want to laugh. I don't want. We are cutting off all activities. It's very difficult. Human being cannot live like that without activities. In senses cannot be without activities, devoid of activities. So in Krishna consciousness, all the senses are engaged in the activities related to Krishna. So Prabhupada is saying this is practical, because by hearing about Krishna, one becomes automatically attached to the Supreme Spirit. This attachment is called Pareshanubhava, spiritual satisfaction. It is just like the feeling of satisfaction of a hungry man for every morsel of food he eats. A beautiful example. The more one eats while hungry, the more one feels satisfaction and strength. If you're not feeling satisfaction and strength, that means that we are overeating. Similarly, by discharge of devotional service, one feels transcendental satisfaction as the mind becomes detached from material objectives. So the more the mind becomes detached from material objectives, the more one feels satisfaction. It is something like curing a disease by expert treatment and appropriate diet. Hearing of the transcendental activities is therefore the expert treatment for the mad mind. So hearing is the treatment, and eating foodstuff offered is the appropriate diet. This treatment is the process of Krishna consciousness. So we have to be treated. We are all diseased. We have material disease. So for us to be cured of that material disease, Prabhupada is saying, hearing is the treatment and that is Krishna Prasadam. So this is the suitable practice. Suitable practice is hearing and honoring Prasadam, and automatically detachment comes in because mind gets attached to Krishna by hearing. Detachment also comes in, then this becomes very easy process to curb the restless mind. Now one might ask, okay, this is fine, but I've been doing all this. I've not been able to curb the restless mind. Now that's not may not be a completely accurate statement, because to some extent we would have been successful in curbing the restless mind. We might not have been successful completely, for the simple reason that we are not completely dedicated ourselves to this process. So we are only doing it. So it's very simple to understand. It's like treatment. Based on the condition of the patient, the dosage will change. Right. So we have to know what our condition is and how much is the dosage of hearing that we require. So if you give the appropriate amount of hearing, then the disease will be cured. It's very simple. So don't forget this. You should not forget this. Hearing and honoring Krishna Prasadam. The chanting is also part of hearing from this perspective. And then, of course, hearing about Lord's activities from Bhagavatam. So if your mind is not is still rebellious, you have to just increase your hearing. Simple solution. Okay. Any questions, thoughts? Okay. 6.36. असम्यतात्मना योगो दुष्प्रापा इति मे मतिः वश्यात्मना तु यतता शक्यो वाप्तुम् उपायतः. For one whose mind is unbridled, self-realization is difficult work. Unbridled means uncontrolled. But he whose mind is controlled and who strives by appropriate means is assured of success. So appropriate means and assured of success. And Krishna is saying that is my opinion. Opinion means that is the final. The Supreme Personality of Godhead declares that one who does not accept the proper treatment to detach the mind from material engagement can hardly achieve success in self-realization. Trying to practice yoga while engaging in the mind in material enjoyment is like trying to ignite a fire while pouring water on it. Yoga practice without mental control is a waste of time. Such a show of yoga may be materially lucrative, but it is useless as far as spiritual realization is concerned. Therefore, one must control the mind by engaging it constantly in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Now, constantly means initially Nityam Bhagavata Sevya, every day. So if you're doing 1 hour, then every day 1 hour. Then you say, okay, I increase 1 hour to 2 hours, then every day 2 hours, 2 hours to 3 hours, every day 3 hours, like that. Gradually, steadily. Unless one is engaged in Krishna consciousness, he cannot steadily control the mind. A Krishna conscious person easily achieves the result of yoga practice without separate endeavor. But a yoga practitioner cannot achieve success without becoming Krishna consciousness. So basically, final process for achieving perfection is Krishna Bhakti. So when we are engaged in Krishna Bhakti, automatically we should experience control of mind. And it is absolutely in proportion to the treatment we are taking, hearing and Krishna Prasadam. 8.37. Arjuna Vacha. Ayati Shraddha Yopeto Yoga Chalita Manasaha Aprapya Yoga Samsiddhim Kam Gatim Krishna Gacchati. Arjuna is worried. Okay, oh Krishna, what is the destination of the unsuccessful transcendentalist who in the beginning takes the process of self-realization with faith, but who later desists due to worldly mindedness and thus does not attain perfection in mysticism? Desist means he holds himself back, doesn't progress on the path. So initially somebody takes to self-realization, but then he stops. Why? Because of worldly mindedness. Worldly mindedness means because they want material prosperity, material desires are there, or because relatives, friends are saying, why all this, it's too early, why, you're so young, why are you wasting your life, whatever, right? Any kind of worldly reason, and thus does not attain perfection in mysticism. No, then obviously he will give up the path. What happens to him? Arjuna is asking. Path of self-realization or mysticism is described in Bhagavad Gita. The basic principle of self-realization is knowledge that the living entity is not the material body, but that he is different from it and that his happiness is in eternal life, bliss and knowledge. Okay, this is the initial knowledge. These are transcendental, beyond both body and mind. Self-realization is sought by the path of knowledge, by the practice of eightfold yoga system or by bhakti yoga. In each of these processes, one has to realize the constitutional position of the living entity, his relationship with God, and the activities whereby he can re-establish the lost link, and achieve the highest perfectional stage of Krishna consciousness. Following any of the above mentioned 3 methods, one is sure to reach the supreme goal sooner or later. So by the path of Gnana, by the path of Yoga, and by the path of Bhakti. This was asserted by the Lord in the 2nd chapter. Even a little endeavor on the transcendental path offers a great hope for deliverance. Yeah, that's because we will continue the process in the next life. So either whether we are in Dana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga or Bhakti Yoga, we will make progress on the path of Yoga. Out of these 3 methods, the path of Bhakti Yoga is especially suitable for this stage because it is the most direct method of God realization. To be doubly assured, Arjuna is asking Lord Krishna to confirm his former statement. He's already said this, but he wants to again check. One may sincerely accept the path of self-realization, but the process of cultivation of knowledge and practice of Ashtanga Yoga are generally very difficult for this age. Therefore, despite constant endeavor, one may fail for many reasons. First of all, one may not sufficiently serious about following the process. To pursue the transcendental path is more or less to declare war on the illusory energy. Consequently, whenever a person tries to escape the clutches of illusory energy, she tries to defeat the practitioner by various allurements. So Maya Devi will attack, or we are not sufficiently serious ourselves. A conditioned soul is already allured by the modes of material nature, and there is every chance of being allured again, even while performing transcendental discipline. So we might be engaged in all these things, but we might again get allured. That is our conditioned state. This is called yoga chalita manasa, deviation from the transcendental path. Arjuna is inquisitive to know the results of deviation from the path of self-realization. So this is very important. So because we might not be serious enough, or because we get stuck by other allurements, attractions, material things. So these are two things which can actually drive us away. And the protection against these two things is association. Okay, so the right association is what can help us actually take care of these issues as well. Right, so yes, there is a possibility of falling down, but if one can take shelter of Krishna's devotees, then there's definitely a chance of not falling down. But Arjuna is asking, okay, still if somebody falls down, what happens to him? Kachinno.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Praji, I think sometime back we had discussed that that we are holding the illusory energy. So it's our strong desire to be under the influence of illusory energy.
Correct.
If we desire to get away from it, then we can.
Yes.
So in that previous verse, like Prabhupada mentioned, so even when we endeavor to get out of our clutches, she will force us to.
And she will not force us. She will put some more attractions, allurements on the way. But if your statement you made saying that, if we are desiring to get out, then even if there are more allurements, we'll pass through that test also.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but that is one desire. The other thing is possibly sometimes it might be more than what we can chew. Then association.
Okay, please. Yes.
Okay, 6.38.
Yes. In that 6.35, you mentioned just by reading Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, we can become pure devotees.
Absolutely. Absolutely, we can become pure devotees.
Okay, just by reading?
Yeah. What is reading? Reading is not, we are not reading some mundane material.
Yeah.
Reading means reading is first with full attention. Right? If we do reading Shravanam, we call reading Shravanam because it is Prabhupada's purpose, right? So it's Shravanam only. So if you do Shravanam with full concentration, with mind completely engaged, then there is first thing is we are directly associating with Krishna. So even if you don't get anything into the mind, anything into the heart, just the process of associating closely with Krishna for such a long time will purify us.
Okay.
And then Bhagavatam, actually, we will discuss this in the first canto of Bhagavatam only. It's clearly said that Punya Shrunotam Sokata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridayan Tasto Bhadrani Vidunoti Surut Satam. So just by hearing process, it's a Punya Karma, Punya Karya. It's a pious activity, and it just Chidyante Hridaya Granthis Vidyante Sarva Samshaya. Just destroys all the misgivings, all the doubts, cleans the heart. Hearing process, that is why it's a Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. And the more we do the hearing process, the more clean we'll become. Actually, for us, till we come to a stage of developing, of course, specifically in your case, you have Ruchi for Nama, but most of us, we don't have Ruchi for Nama. Till we develop Ruchi for Nama, it is actually hearing process which will actually cleanse us. Very fast it will cleanse. Then it will bring us to that stage of Nama Ruchi. Then when Nama Ruchi is there, that Shravanam will also be more effective, because till then we will be chanting in Aparadha, so it won't have much impact. But if you moved out of Namaparada stage, then that hearing is even more powerful. But technically, this is non-different. We cannot say one hearing is more powerful than the other hearing, right? Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam will also give us Krishna Prema. Hare Krishna Mahamantra will also give us Krishna Prema. The thing is, for those who have already reached that stage, where then for them anyway, when they're chanting, also Mananam is happening. So it's all combined together. But for us in our initial stages, and we need variety sometimes, we don't have taste to just keep chanting Hare Krishna all the time, nor do we have taste to simply be reading Bhagavatam all the time. So we need some variety. So we're engaged in different kinds of hearing activities, but the core process is hearing.
Okay, so if something it doesn't enter the mind and heart, you told still the process will act.
Absolutely. Mind and heart, and I'm saying if you are not knowledge, if you are not trying to garner some knowledge also, still heart means without heart, then we are not reading. I'm saying we are reading with full concentration. That means that we are attentively hearing.
Okay.
Nothing might be going and registering inside. That is okay.
Okay.
But as long as we are attentively hearing, we associate with Krishna.
Okay.
For example, sometimes, we might not, just that because of our ability, because of we are tired or whatever, we are just not able to register anything very clearly. But we are sincerely hearing, we are hearing very nicely. But maybe you require another 10%, 20% more attention for it to register. And maybe we don't have that. Still, it will have an impact.
Okay, Praj. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And you were mentioning about the dosage of depending on the
yes.
patient.
Yeah. Very important.
Yeah, so one
Be
condition.
The doctor. Be your doctor.
Okay. Okay.
No. What is your question? I simply said.
No. In the sense, if our condition is worse, then the dosha should be more.
Yes.
Again, it gets linked to the availability of time. Yeah.
Yeah, but what I have seen is that it doesn't require actually too much time for us to come to a particular stage. Like if you're doing, I've seen at one point of time I was doing 3 hours reading, and it had like huge impact. And then it will take us suddenly to one level immediately.
Okay.
Then we will understand, saying that okay, it's having impact. Then we should experience once the power of hearing. Then we will understand and we will stick to the process. Okay. But like 2-3 hours is also I've seen amazing impact. Bhagavatam.
Okay. Yes, Praj. Thank you.
Kachinno bhaya vibrashtas vichinnabhram iva nashyati apratishto mahabhaho vimudho brahmana pati. O mighty armed Krishna, does not such a man who is bewildered from the path of transcendence fall away from both spiritual and material success and perish like a riven cloud with no position in any sphere? So is he gone? Is he neither here nor there? That's Arjuna's question. There are 2 ways to progress. Those who are materialists have no interest in transcendence. Therefore, they are more interested in material advancement by economic development, promotion to higher planets, by appropriate work. When one takes to the path of transcendence, one has to cease all material activities. Prabhupada is saying cease all material activities. Means 2 ways of ceasing all material activities also. One is actually ceasing. The other is just doing as a matter of duty because it has to be done for maintenance, etc. Cease all material activities and sacrifice all forms of so-called material happiness, which is anyway true, which we have to anyway give up so-called material happiness. If the aspiring transcendental fails, then he apparently loses both ways. Apparently means it seems like he's losing both ways. In other words, he can enjoy neither material happiness nor spiritual success. He has no position. He's like a riven cloud. Riven cloud means like driven away because of wind. Cloud separates out. He's explaining it here. A cloud in the sky sometimes deviates from a small cloud and joins a big one. But if it cannot join a big one, then it is blown away by the wind and becomes a non-entity in the vast sky, which means that it just remains alone. The Brahmana Pati is the path of transcendental realization through knowing oneself to be spiritual in essence. part and parcel of Supreme Lord, who is manifested as Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. Lord Sri Krishna is the fullest manifestation of the Supreme Absolute Truth, and therefore one who is surrendered to the Supreme Person is a successful transcendentalist. One who is surrendered to the Supreme Person is a successful transcendentalist. To reach this goal of life through Brahman and Paramatma realization takes many, many births. Unam Janmanamante. Therefore, the supermost path of transcendental realization is Bhakti Yoga, conscious Krishna consciousness, the direct method. Okay, I lost concentration. Fall away from, okay. So, but if you can, okay. So here is saying basically, yeah, if you get lost, then it's neither here nor there. The Brahmanapati is the path of transcendental realization through knowing oneself to be spiritual in essence. Part and parcel of the Supreme Lord was manifested. Okay. Through knowing oneself to be spiritual. Okay. Krishna is the fullest manifestation of Supreme Lord. Therefore, one who surrendered to the Supreme Lord is successful transcendentalist. Okay. To reach this goal of life through Brahman and Paramatma. Okay. Therefore, the supermost path of transcendental realization is Bhakti Yoga. Okay, so yeah, so the question basically just will you just have no position neither here nor there? That is the question. Okay. एतन्मे संशयं कृष्ण चेतुम् अर्हसि अशेषतः त्वदन्य संशयस्यास्य चेत्ता न हि उपपद्यते. This is my doubt, O Krishna, and I will ask you to dispel it completely. But for you, no one is to be found who can destroy this out. Krishna is the perfect knower of past, present, and future. In the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord said that all living entities existed individually in the past, exist now in the present, and continue to remain individual identity in the future, even after liberation from the material entanglement. So he has already cleared up the question of the future of the individual living entity. Now Arjuna wants to know the future of the unsuccessful transcendentalist. So here, individual living entity, he's already said we are already eternal. But now Arjuna is asking, what about unsuccessful transcendentalists? No one is equal to or above Krishna, and certainly the so-called great sages and philosophers who are at the mercy of material nature cannot equal him. And certainly the so-called great sages and philosophers who are at the mercy of material nature cannot equal him. Therefore, the verdict of Krishna is the final and complete answer to all doubts, because he knows past, present, and future perfectly. But no one knows him. Krishna and Krishna conscious devotees alone can know what is what. Okay, so yeah, just Krishna knows, so he will answer the question, Arjuna's question. Bhagavan Vacha. Parthanaiveha namutra vinashastasya vidyate nahi kalyana kritkashchit durgatim tatagacchati. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, son of Prutha, a transcendentalist engaged in auspicious activities does not meet with destruction either in this world or in the spiritual world. One who does good, my friend, is never overcome by evil. Srimad Bhagavatam. त्यक्त्वा स्वधर्मं चरणाम्बुजं हरेर् भजन्न पक्वोत पठेत्ततो यदि यत्र क्वा भद्रम् अबोधमुष्य किं को वार्ता आप्तो भजतां स्वधर्मतः. If someone gives up all material aspects, prospects, and takes complete shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no loss or degradation in any way. On the other hand, a non-devotee may fully engage in his occupational duties and yet not gain anything. For material prospects, there are many activities, both scriptural and customary, which happens in custom. A transcendentalist is supposed to give up all material activities for the sake of spiritual advancement in life, Krishna consciousness. One may argue that by Krishna consciousness, one may attain the highest perfection if it is completed. But if one does not attain such a perfectional state, then he loses both materially and spiritually. It is enjoined in the scriptures that one has to suffer the reaction of not executing prescribed duty. So what Prabhupada is saying here is, if somebody engages in spirituality but ignores, neglects, rejects his occupational duties or prescribed duties, then actually he has to suffer the reaction. Therefore, one who fails to discharge transcendental activities properly becomes subjected to these reactions. So definitely they have to experience these reactions. The Bhagavatam assures the unsuccessful transcendentalists that there need not be worries. Even though he may be subjected to the reaction for not perfectly executing prescribed duties, he's still not a loser, because auspicious Krishna consciousness is never forgotten. And one so engaged will continue to be so even if he is low born in the next life. On the other hand, one who simply follows strictly the prescribed duties need not necessarily attain auspicious results if he is lacking in Krishna consciousness. So basically, so even if we don't completely engage, it will result. So there is sin involved. But Prabhupada here is saying, but it is okay because he's made progress in Krishna consciousness, because Krishna consciousness is never forgotten, and he will continue in the next life. So there is no loss. But one who simply follows strictly prescribed duties, he doesn't need not attain any auspicious results if he's lacking Krishna consciousness, because he might also be engaged in some papa sinful activities, or it might not really bring him to Krishna consciousness, in which case it's just temporary and lost. The purport may be understood as follows. Humanity may be divided into two sections, namely the regulated and the non-regulated. Those who are engaged simply in bestial, meaning beast-like, sense gratifications without knowledge of their next life or spiritual salvation belong to the non-regulated section. Those who follow the principles of prescribed duties in the scriptures are classified among the regulated section. The non-regulated section, there are two parts, both two types, or multiple divisions, both civilized, non-civilized, educated, non-educated, strong and weak, are full of animal propensity. So it doesn't matter which category one belongs to, they're all full of animal propensities. Their activities are never auspicious, because while enjoying the animal propensities of eating, sleeping, defeating, and mating, they perpetually remain in material existence, which is always miserable. On the other hand, those who are regulated by scriptural injunctions and who thus rise gradually to Krishna consciousness certainly progress in life. So it's okay even if we don't complete. It's important that we make progress. That's the point Prabhupada is making here. That is better than living like an animal. So even if there is a little progress, it's still okay. It's good. Those who are following the path of auspiciousness can be divided into three sections, which is a regulated section. The followers of scriptural rules and regulations who are enjoying material prosperity. So they want material prosperity, so they are following scriptural rules and regulations. Those who are trying to find the ultimate liberation from material existence, the Gnanis. So this is Karmis, the Gnanis, second. And third one is Bhaktas, devotees, those who are devotees in Krishna consciousness. All these are regulated section. Those who are following the rules and regulations of scripture for material happiness may be further divided into two classes. So Karmis can be divided into two classes. Those who are fruity workers, which means they want to do work for the karma kanda, basically they want for future sense gratification. And the others, those who desire no fruit for sense gratification. That means that they are simply engaged in karma, but nishkama karma. So they are engaged in karma, but they are not interested in the karma phala. Those who are after fruitive results for sense gratification may be elevated to a higher standard of life. So those who are engaged in karma kanda, they can be elevated to higher standard of life, even to higher planets. But still, because they are not free from material existence, they are not following the truly auspicious path. While this, punya and swargaloka, all that seems okay, but it's really not truly auspicious, because it's not helping them to get out of material existence. The only auspicious activities are those which lead one to liberation, means getting out of this material world. Any activity which is not aimed at ultimate self-realization or liberation from material bodily concept of life is not at all auspicious. So that is why even Sattva Guna is useless. We have to go to Shuddha Sattva. Activity in Krishna consciousness is the only auspicious activity, and anyone who voluntarily accepts all bodily discomforts for the sake of making progress on the path of Krishna consciousness can be called a perfect transcendentalist under severe austerity. So this is the only auspicious activity, and anyone who voluntarily accepts all bodily discomforts. So we should be ready to do this, because Prabhupada is saying that this is very good, right? So he can be called a perfect transcendentalist under severe austerity. And because the Eightfold Yoga system is directed towards the ultimate realization of Krishna consciousness, such practice is also auspicious, and no one who's trying his best in this matter need fear degradation. So Prabhupada is saying, okay, yoga is also okay. If somebody is engaged in yoga, because ultimately they're going to come to bhakti, Krishna consciousness, even that is auspicious, because it's not taking one away from not like the other paths. So yoga is also okay, is helpful. And anybody who is so engaged doesn't have to fear degradation. So even if we end up doing some not so approved activities, it is still okay because we have the protection of bhakti. Not protection, but we have developed bhakti, so that will continue, and so soon we will get over all that nonsense anarthas that we have. Okay, we'll finish this. प्राप्य पुण्यकृतां लोकान् उषित्वा शाश्वती समाः शुचितां श्रीमतां गेहे योगभ्रष्टो विजायते. Unsuccessful yogi, after many, and this is the who falls very soon, not after prolonged practice. He, after many years of enjoyment on the plans of pious living entities, is born into a family of righteous, which is punya jivis, or into the family of rich aristocracy. The unsuccessful yogis are divided into two classes. One is fallen after very little progress, and one is fallen after long practice of yoga. The yogi who falls after a short period of practice goes to the higher planets. So this verse is talking about yogi who falls after a short period of practice. He goes to higher planets where pious living entities are allowed to enter. After prolonged life there, one is sent back again to this planet to take birth in the family of a righteous Brahmana Vaishnava or aristocratic merchants. The real purpose of yoga practice is to achieve the highest perfection of Krishna consciousness. But those who do not persevere to such an extent and who fail because of material allurements are allowed by the grace of the Lord to make full utilization of their material propensities. That means that they have, they did not complete, they did not achieve perfection because they had some material inclinations. So again, they are given a chance. They can utilize that material propensities also. But after that, they are given opportunities to live prosperous life in righteous or aristocratic families. Okay, so the last statement means that they will go to Swarga where they can enjoy their material propensities. But then after that, they come back to righteous or aristocratic family for them to be able to continue their process of bhakti. Those who are born in such families may take advantage of the facilities and try to elevate themselves. So Prabhupada is saying may take advantage because he has fallen after very little progress. So may take or may not take also. So dangerous. So it's not good to fall after very little progress because though it's there, but it might take many lifetimes for us to really take it up seriously, because again, maybe next life we might do another 0.5% like that. So falling after very little progress is, is better than no progress, not coming into Krishna consciousness itself, but at least one should be steady for, quite some time. अथवा योगिनामेव कुले भवति धीमताम् एतद्धि दुर्लभतरं लोके जन्म तदीदृशम्. Or if unsuccessful after long practice of yoga, he takes his birth in a family of transcendentalists who are surely great in wisdom. Certainly such a birth is very rare in this world. Birth in a family of yogis or transcendentalists, those with great wisdom, is praised herein because the child born in such a family receives spiritual impetus from the very beginning of life. So that is why even for us, our children, we have to give this from the very beginning of life. Otherwise, it's very difficult to give it later. It is especially the case in the Acharya or Goswami families. Such families are very learned and devoted by tradition and training, and thus they become spiritual masters. In India, there are many such Acharya families, but they are now degenerated due to insufficient education and training. By the grace of the Lord, there are still families that foster transcendentalist generation after generation. It is certainly very fortunate to take birth in such families. Fortunately, both our spiritual master, Om Vishnu Pada Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, and our humble self had the opportunity to take birth in such families by the grace of the Lord, and both of us were trained in the devotion service of the Lord from the beginning of our lives. Later on, we met by the order of the transcendental system. Okay, so at least, this birth is very rare. But yeah, so if we don't achieve perfection, at least we will definitely get this after prolonged practice if we fail. But yeah, we should not think about failing. We should think about achieving perfection in this life. Okay, so I'll stop here. If anybody has any questions, you can ask.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, here actually like little progress and means what actually? Little progress means like
little progress means that we are not really fixed. We are still in anartha nivrutti and we might fall, or we or look at it, this is after long practice. So anything which is not long practice is less practice. So basically, I mean, there is no clear quantification for this, but what it looks like is that we have not even got over our anarthas. That is very early in our bhakti stage, because anarthas is the, if we crossed anartha nivritti, that means that we have spent long time in practice of yoga. So if we, before anartha nivritti, if we drop off, then yeah, we will get an opportunity so that next life, either, in the Brahmana family or aristocratic family. Aristocratic family, because they don't have to think about livelihood, so they can very easily get it engaged in sattvic activities. Brahmana, because by culture they will be sattvic. So both of them is allowing for sattvic lifestyle. So we will continue from there. But exactly how much, I don't think I've read this anywhere saying that is it quantifying any stage as such in book.
Thank you.
Okay.
Prabhuji, in previous verse also, one who has made little progress, it is mentioned they will take birth, Vaishnava family, Brahmana or Vaishnava.
Brahmana Vaishnava. No, Brahmana Vaishnava Prabhupada is saying it's actually righteous family. It's not so much of he's not said like a Vaishnava transcendentalist. Brahmana Vaishnava Prabhupada is saying like, because simply Brahmana meaning like then you will go into Karma Kanda. So he's saying that with who have an inclination towards Vishnu, that kind of Brahmana Vaishnava.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here, the long practice, it is about
Here,
pure
this is a
devotee.
devotee. This is a devotee's house, proper devotee's house.
Hmm.
The other one might not be, he's not a Vaishnava yet, but he's on the path. That means that he's not so engaged in demigod worship as much as Vishnu and Brahman. And, he's on this path.
Okay.
He's not going to take away the child into some other direction, basically. It's very simple to understand. No, like somebody has to make progress in bhakti. If he's a Nirakaravadi, then he will not make. If father is a Nirakaravadi, then child won't make progress. If father is a Karmakandi, child won't make progress. If father is a Brahmanvadi, child won't make progress.
Okay.
Right. So he should be inclined towards Sakara, personal form of the Lord. He might not yet be a Vaishnava.
Okay. So previously it is less advanced devotee family. Here it is highly advanced devotee family.
Yeah, less advanced, inclined towards devotion. We may or may not be call him also, because he might not engage in any really sadhana bhakti himself, but favorable. Favorable. Like, for example, if I look at like my house, my parents were favorable, but they were not following any bhakti as such. They were sattvic, favorable Brahman family. So then it can be considered that, okay, might have done little progress in the past life, like that. So it should help. It should not push you away from bhakti. That kind of an environment that is.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, Prajit. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else had anything?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
So here it says unsuccessful after long practice of yoga, right? So if we are practicing for a long time, we have developed that ruchi, right, or that prema, but still, are there chances of falling down even at that stage?
Yeah. So good question. Okay. So like I said, long practice could mean anything up to bhava. Up to bhava we can fall, right? So in our afternoon Bhagavatam, we are doing Jada Bharat.
Yes.
Right. So Jada Bharat fell at the stage of bhava. So up to bhava, we will have some anarthas which can pull us down. So up to then also we can fall down. But prema we will not fall down. If we reach prema, then it's irreversible change. Like we will never get affected by material things after that. But till then we can fall down.
Okay.
But the
Okay.
chances are very, very less. It keeps going decreasing, but possibility is there technically.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Yeah, and that is why the whole solution is being in association of strong devotees. Yeah. Anything else from anybody? Okay. Then we'll conclude for the day. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyo cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Samaveta Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.